If you like horror, hit that notification bell, smash that like button, and push that subscribe button now.
What's the boogeyman?
Hello, Sydney.
Welcome to my nightmare. We want the man who did this.
Welcome to Nick Push's Horror Channel.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Had a little bit of free time tonight, so figured, what the hell? Let's jump on live. It's been a long time since I've been live solo. What the hell, right? I already got some people here. We got the Shape of Horror podcast. Bud, how you doing, man? Scott Royston says, hey, buddy, long time no talk. Hey, Scott, how are you, man? Good to hear from you. And Allie's here. Allie says, hey, Nick, happy Wednesday. How you doing, Allie? So yeah, I don't even really have a topic tonight, guys. I just know there's a lot of stuff to talk about, as always, regarding the horror spectrum, horror community, whatever you want to call it. We got a couple exciting movies coming up soon. We got The Exorcist. We got Saw X. I think that's it as far as this year goes, as far as like big horror franchises. I know there's other horror movies that are going to be coming out, but yeah. DMT Infinity's here, says, good afternoon, fam. I'm making some coffee at the moment. About to get ready for work today and tonight. On to my show. This is a great way to start off my next 25 hours before work. 25 hours? I hope you mean 25 minutes, because a 25-hour shift, maybe you're a firefighter, but still, either way, it's a hell of a shift. So thanks for stopping by. But yeah, last year at this time, right, we were kind of dissecting, I believe we were dissecting the Halloween Ends trailer still. I think that came out at some point in July, right? And then we got the synopsis from Universal with those two words that every Halloween fan has grown to either love or loathe. And I'm, of course, talking about Corey Cunningham. We had no idea what the hell was going to go on with Corey Cunningham. And remember, we were always all making all kinds of videos, all kinds of shit, regarding Corey Cunningham. And, I think a lot of people's worst fears came to fruition, unfortunately for them. But I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised by the fact that they wanted to hate the Corey Cunningham stuff, but they didn't. And I'm kind of in that boat myself, as much as I disagree the fact that that's how they ended the trilogy with the Corey story. I really enjoyed the story. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with where we were at last year. Travis Parsons is in the chat. What's up, Travis? How you doing, man? Good to hear from you. I don't have a beer here to toast you, but if I had a beer here, I'd toast you, man. Yeah, tell me in the chat, what movie are you guys excited for this year? Are you guys excited for The Exorcist? Are you excited for Saw X? Is this actually Saw 10? Like, is this like Jason X, where they're calling it Saw X because it's Saw 10? If so, the fact that there's 10 Saw movies now is crazy. Crazy. DMT Infinity says, my wife and I are going to go see Saw X in theaters if your surgery goes well. And LOL, I put in 25 hours of work into my show a day and sleep for about 10 hours. Hey, that's a good way to do it. And I hope your wife's surgery goes well, obviously. Surgeries are a scary thing, but they're obviously necessary. So hope it goes well for you, pal. Raul Ramirez says hello there. Hey, Raul, how you doing, man? And Real Dead. Hey, yo, guys. How you doing, Real Dead? Let's see who else we got here. Lovey's Fat Life. How you doing? Good to see you. Says, found your channel a couple months ago. Good stuff. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Shape of Horror podcast says, my interest is growing for The Exorcist. Yeah, mine too. The trailer was good. I thought the trailer was really good. It did what it needed to do. It showed us, that in some ways they're going back to the roots a little bit of The Exorcist, and in a lot of other ways, they're going to be exploring new things, with the two girls and the fact that, it's 2023 and Reagan's mom is there. and all kinds of interesting stuff there. So I'm definitely intrigued for The Exorcist. You know, I know a lot of people have reservations because David Gordon Green is involved, and he left a sour taste in a lot of horror fans' mouths for, you know, his Halloween trilogy. But I think his Halloween trilogy had a lot more good than bad. That's just you know, the era we're in now. Everyone's crazy about everything. So and I get it. You know, I get that way myself. But yeah. Scott says, can't wait to see Saw X in theater. And Scott Royston says, Saw X just looks the same as the others. It's intriguing that it will be a reboot between 1 and 2. Yeah, I think that's a smart move. And maybe that'll be the catalyst for a lot of other horror franchises to start, you know, grabbing sequels in the middle of other movies. You know, obviously everybody in the Halloween community has been kind of clamoring for a sequel to Halloween 4, right? So maybe Saw X, being between Saw 1 and 2, will kind of be the catalyst of other horror franchise doing that, because, you know, it's a copycat. You know, as they say about the NFL, you know, it's a copycat league. Well, just like movies, you know, it's a copycat league, essentially, where if one thing is successful, you know, a lot of other franchises are going to try the same thing, you know, especially if it's successful in making money. You know, these studios are going to want to take advantage of that. Travis Parsons says, looking forward to Beetlejuice 2. Yeah, me as well. I would assume the writer's strike had to, I mean, it's affected everything, but I would assume it would have to affect that. I know they were in, I don't know if it was pre-production or what, but I know there were some stills that came out with Jenna Ortega and Winona Ryder, and I actually heard that, you know, some of the statues from Beetlejuice 2 were kind of stolen from the set, which is pretty, it's not funny, but it's pretty crazy that, you know, those statues were stolen from the set. How the fuck does that happen? Just crazy. Allie is ready for Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, I don't know much about Five Nights at Freddy's, but I liked what I saw in the trailer. You know, it kind of looked like a rundown Chuck E. Cheese or something. And it had some creepy vibes. So hopefully, you know, it translates from the trailer to the movie. But yeah, I'm intrigued for Five Nights at Freddy's as well. Scott Royston says, as a Christian, I try to stay clear of possession films. Yeah, it's tough when certain movies, you know, hit that side of you that you don't want it to hit, or you don't feel comfortable with. So yeah, I would always encourage someone, you know, if they're not comfortable with something because of their religion, their faith, you know, whatever, you know, then don't feel pressure to see it. You know, don't feel pressure to talk about it. You know, we all believe what we believe, and it's hard. So yeah, I completely understand that, Scott. DMT Infinity says, speaking of which Saw movie would you say is your favorite and why? I'm going to have to go with the first one, personally. Absolutely agree with you. I will admit, not the biggest fan of the Saw franchise. In fact, the last half of the franchise I really haven't seen. You know, I've seen bits and pieces. But I really enjoyed the first one a lot. I enjoyed Saw 2. And after that, I couldn't really get into it. I've heard people say they like Saw 3. It's hard for me to get into that. But the first one I thought was fantastic. Minus some little nitpicks like Carrie Elwes acting and things like that. The twist was awesome. You know, this is James Wan and Lee Winnell, right? You know, look what Lee Winnell's done, you know, with The Invisible Man, and was the one that just came out with Patrick Wilson. He did the third one of that. Not The Conjuring, the other one. But yeah, and James Wan is, you know, arguably, you know, the most successful, or in my opinion, the best horror director of the last, you know, 20 some years. I think he's fantastic. He's like, you know, he's like John Carpenter, Wes Craven of this era. So yeah, and the original Saw, I think it's awesome. So very happy that you agree with me there. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Raul Ramirez says, I'm looking forward to seeing The Exorcist. Don't know if I'll compare it to the original, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, and therein lies the problem with with an Exorcist sequel nowadays, right? And I said this over on the Shape of Horror podcast last week. I think it was last week. It feels like a couple weeks ago. But yeah, it was last week. I said it with Bud. We were talking about this last week. But how do you make the Exorcist sequel be the Exorcist sequel and not just another exorcism movie? Because there's so many good exorcism movies out there. You know, there's so many bad ones too, right? But how do you make a sequel to The Exorcist? Because The Exorcist is the fucking Exorcist, man. It just is. So how do you make a sequel to that and not just have it be another run-of-the-mill horror movie, exorcism movie? I don't have an answer to that. I liked what I saw in the trailer, and I think, you know, if that translates to the film, and, you know, they don't make a bunch of crazy creative decisions that, you know, piss me off or something like that, you know, I think they're on the right track. But we will see. And they've certainly sold me on the fact that it's exciting. Let's see what else we got here. Shape of Horror podcast says, are you saying there's a movie to be made between kills and ends? Well, they had 4 years, right? So, you know, was it just 4 years of Michael recovering? Do we want to see 4 years of Michael eating rats in the sewer? Do we want to see, you know, Hawkins discovering his love of cherry blossoms? I don't know. Probably not a movie but to be made between there. DMT Infinity says Halloween 4's ending is easily one of the most iconic endings in all of horror. God, it sure is. I wish I was old enough to see that movie in the theater. I saw it in the mid 90s or so when I was, you know, growing up. I was just a kid, but I wish I could have seen that movie in the theater, not knowing that there was a shitty Halloween 5 to come and all these other movies to come. That would have been cool. Lovey's Fat Life says, I'm Mike from Real Dead, the wiser of the two. Yeah, I always knew you were the wiser one. That's not a secret there. Says, love The Exorcist. This one, hoping it's good. Yeah, I hope it's good too. Entertainment Wizard says Beetlejuice 2 was filming, but they are shut down. Okay, that makes sense then, based on, you know, the stills I saw and things like that. Let's see here. Okay, Shape of Horror podcast says they tore down the set. Here we go. James Rant says, what do you think about Freddy vs. Jason turning 20 years old? Well, first of all, I think I'm old all of a sudden, you know. But I remember seeing Freddy vs. Jason in 2003, I think. Was it 2003 it came out? I think so. I remember seeing it in 2003, like during the morning, like a morning show, and it's just me and one other guy in the theater. And man, it was fun. It was fun. Do I have issues with the movie? I guess. But it's a movie called Freddy vs. Jason. It's a comic book movie, kind of, for us horror fans. It was, you know, I don't want to say a thank you to us horror fans because they did it for the fucking payday, right? But the fact that it even exists, I think, is just a win for us horror fans. You know, that's not a movie that I'm going to go in critiquing and saying, you know, there's no suspense here, there's no this. You know, it's just a movie that should be fun. Now, should Jason have been scared of water? Fuck no, that was stupid. Did Ronnie Yu go a little too far with his acrobatics and stuff? Yes. But it's still just a fun movie, I think. So yeah. I enjoy Freddy vs. Jason. Let's see what else we got here. Travis says never got into Saw. Yeah, I think it's kind of a hit or miss for horror fans, you know. Either you like the torture porn or you don't. Either you got into it and fell off, or you got into it and, you know, stayed into it. You know, when it first came out and it kind of launched into, you know, Hostel and all kinds of other shit, it was so new and crazy and, you know, and interesting that, you know, everyone was like intrigued by it. Me, I can't really watch some of the gruesome traps. You know, for some reason I can watch Jason, you know, take a machete to someone's head, but I can't watch somebody, you know, take a piece of metal and dig a key out of their eye. I just can't. I just never gotten into it. Lovey says, got to bring Linda Blair back somehow. Yeah, is she gonna be back? You know, the fact that her mom is in there from the movie, well, first of all, is amazing. That that lady's still acting, and she looks good, pretty impressive. But the fact that her mom is in The Exorcist, or this Exorcist sequel, is pretty interesting. So I would assume if their mom is in there, if her mom is in there, they'd have to have Linda Blair come back. But you'd think they'd have, you think that they would have something in the trailer, right? You think that'd be a huge trailer moment. But maybe they're saving it. I would love it if we did not know or thought that Linda Blair was not going to be in this Exorcist movie, and all of a sudden she shows up. You know, even for a quick cameo or something at the end. You know, because they are. Remember, this is supposed to be like a trilogy, right? So maybe the ending of this Exorcist movie is going to be, you know, the demon, whatever the hell the demon's name is, or the devil, whatever. Maybe it's going to be that thing winning, and then all of a sudden, boom, cuts to Linda Blair, and she's like, "Remember me," or some bullshit like that. Maybe that's gonna be, how they sell the second movie, and then the next movie will be The Exorcist kills, and then The Exorcist ends. Who knows? But yeah, I hope they bring Linda Blair back too. Entertainment Wizard says The Exorcist trilogy is doomed. They would have to make $1.6 billion to get the investment back. Yeah, I don't see them making that. There's zero chance of them making that. So you wonder who's in charge of their finance. If that's true, and I'm not saying it's not, but who's in charge of those financial decisions? It's interesting, because clearly that is not possible. Unless it's like a Marvel movie, right? Travis says it's the formula now, right? Gonna bring a franchise back. Got to appeal to the nostalgia. Exactly. It is the formula. I will say, I've enjoyed this formula. I've enjoyed this nostalgic train that we've been on in horror. I really have. It's kind of been going up, up, up. Well, for me, I'm hanging over the cliff now, and I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of ready for more new stuff, and there is new stuff coming, but there's just you just have all this, horror franchises from our past, kind of thrown in our fases. I started kind of with Halloween 2018. We're gonna get another Nightmare film, I think. We're obviously getting a Crystal Lake series for Friday the 13th, which I'm very, very excited for, by the way. But overall, the nostalgic train here, I'm kind of over, and it's kind of time to either reboot some of this shit or, hopefully let some of it die. But they won't, because it's money, right? That's just unfortunate reality sometimes. But yeah, that's the way it is. Let's see here. Scott says, I remember watching Halloween 4 on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view, that's crazy, man. I didn't realize they had horror movies like that on pay-per-view. That's cool. Lovey's Fat Life says, I recall seeing Friday the 13th 3D at a drive-in theater with the glasses. Now that is fucking cool, man. That is really cool. I'm jealous. I wish I had that memory. Elliot says, I would like to know about the missing girls. Probably talking about The Exorcist. Real Dead says, yeah, Mike, we know you're old. Scott Royston says, I was 14 when Halloween 4 came out, and I enjoyed watching it on Halloween night at the end of the year. It was actually my first Halloween film I've ever seen on the big screen. That's cool. That is cool. My first Halloween on the big screen was Curse, and I snuck in. I was in like 6th grade. I snuck into that, and that was cool. Obviously, I didn't know any better at the time that the story was shit, but just seeing Myers on the big screen after watching him on, VHS my whole childhood, and, HBO and NBC when it was on, seeing him on the big screen, was pretty cool. Real Dead says, 2003 was a decent year for horror fans, with Freddy vs. Jason and the TCM reboot. Saw both in theaters. Dude, that Texas Chainsaw reboot was really, really good with Jessica Biel. Way better than it should be. There are days where I like it better than the original. And I actually just rewatched the original a couple months ago, and I think the original I regained my love for the original, but the 2003 reboot is awesome. Raul Ramirez brings something up that I've wanted to bring up tonight. Says, have you seen the alternate opening to Scream 3? If so, what are your thoughts? I have not, but I have heard all about it. It's kind of making its way on the internet. And then Bud, my buddy from the Shape of Horror podcast, who is in the chat here, was kind of talking to me about it a little bit. Because I haven't seen it, I am not going to comment on what I know about it. I would encourage you to check it out. And I think Bud may be planning a video or breakdown on that. So I would encourage you guys to go check out the Shape of Horror podcast and be prepared for him to come out with something on that. And if he doesn't, just pressure him until he does. He likes being pressured. DMT Infinity says, after Halloween Kills and Ends, I just don't trust them to make sequels to these iconic films. I really don't like them as writers or directors. Sorry, not sorry, but they disappoint me. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way, for sure. And, you know, I think what they tried to do is have their cake and eat it too. You know, they tried to make everyone happy with these 3 movies as a whole. They tried to, you know, appeal to some, you know, Halloween purists, as the term is, and they tried to go in new directions, and then they tried to have Myers, you know, on a rampage, you know, like Jason Voorhees, and they fell victim, I think, to the old adage, you know, you try to please everybody, yet end up pleasing nobody. So yeah, I think, you know, as a trilogy as a whole, you know, there's so many good moments in it, but it's scatterbrained, right? It's just all over the fucking place. If you look at it, you know, if you would sit down and watch those 3 movies back to back to back, it wouldn't be coherent. You know, it wouldn't be a coherent story. And I get it. This is the Halloween franchise. The timeline is a fucking joke. You know, I've said it before, but, you know, trying to explain the Halloween timeline to, you know, a non-Halloween fan or a non-horror fan is kind of fucking embarrassing. You know, and it's almost one of those things where, you know, you're explaining it to someone and then they start talking shit about it. You're talking shit about it. Then they start talking shit about it. And then you get offended because it's like, hold on a second. You know, this franchise sucks, but it's my franchise, right? You know, I can talk shit about it because I love it, but you can't talk shit about it. You know, that's just kind of how I feel sometimes. But yeah, I think that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but from a storytelling standpoint, they were just all over the place. And it's unfortunate because, you know, it had a lot of potential. But there's a lot of things they nailed too. You know, Myers and, you know, the hiring of James Jude Courtney and the hiring of Christopher Nelson and a lot of aspects like that. They knocked out of the park. So, you know, this is a choose your own adventure franchise. All right. Let's see here. Travis says Halloween Kills way overdid the nostalgia. Way too many returning characters. Too many characters. Yeah, absolutely. And they brought these characters back and just fucking killed them unceremoniously. You know, like, I've said it before, and I thought Anthony Michael Hall's performance as Tommy Doyle was fucking terrible. Like, really, really bad. And I don't know if it was him or the writing, but either way, it sucked. It absolutely sucked. And it made me sad because Anthony Michael Hall's a good actor, you know? But he was terrible. Absolutely terrible. And they didn't do him any favors with the writing. Real Dead says, I was born in 83 and missed too many great horror movies to see on the big screen. It sucks. Yeah, we're about the same age, man. And yeah, there's so many that, you know, I caught in the early 90s or late 80s that caught on VHS and didn't get to see it in this heyday. We just missed it. Let's see what else here. Let's go through. Ronnie is in the chat with the super chat. ATGNAT podcast. Ronnie says, love you, Nick. Love you too, man. Thanks for the $1.99. I'll have to check my spreadsheet here, but I think that makes us even now on the super chats. But if I owe you, I'll send it back. It's funny. So me and Ronnie and Blake are always sending each other's channel super chats back and forth, and it's like, okay, remember, we owe Nick this, or Nick owes, I owe Blake and Ronnie this. And you know who's laughing all the way to the bank? It's fucking YouTube, because they take like 50%. So we're just essentially donating to YouTube. But thanks, Ronnie. I appreciate it, buddy. Let's see here. DMT Infinity says Halloween Kills, more like Halloween Kills the franchise. Yeah, I wonder if you took a poll of Halloween fans and said, what is your favorite movie of the David Gordon Green trilogy? What do you think would win? Do you think it'd be like split? Like 33% each? Or would Halloween Kills or 2018 easily take the cake there? I think it would be pretty split, but I think Kills would probably win. My guess is you'd have 40% of the people, and this is just a guess, 40% of the people say Halloween Kills is their favorite. And I think you'd have like 35% say 2018 is their favorite, and maybe 25% would say, maybe not 25%, maybe 25% would say Halloween Ends is their favorite. That's kind of how I feel, but I could be way off on that. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you think? What do you think would win if you asked Halloween fans? Travis says 100-year-old bracket. Tommy, total cringe line. Yeah, dude. Bracket, like, and that one good scare line, man. It's Halloween, Michael. Everyone's entitled to one good scare. What? Why would you remember that? Like, I get it. I absolutely get it. That wasn't for Michael. That wasn't for the mob. That was for us, right? That was absolutely for us. But what do you think? We're fucking morons? Like, whoever wrote the dialogue in Halloween Kills, I hope they never write dialogue in another movie again, because that was that bad. That was, like, up there with, Rob Zombie's shit as far as, terrible dialogue in a Halloween movie. Entertainment Wizard says Anthony had bad directing for sure. Yeah, he definitely did. And then Travis continues, Anthony Michael Hall by himself as Tommy, loved it. Put him with any other character in a scene, just awful. Yeah, I'll have to rewatch and see, because obviously he has some scenes by himself. But yeah, the scenes with other characters, with the Evil Dies Tonight and all kinds of shit, was absolutely god awful. Scott Royston says, I love the fact that Halloween Kills brought back all those new characters. It was just so sad to see a lot of them die, and then it was sad to see how Halloween Ends ruined that by introducing new Corey. Yeah, it's like they bring these characters back just to kill them. And I'm not saying don't kill them. But how they killed them was just like insulting, to the characters and insulting to us fans. Like, I'm a big proponent of, for instance, in the Scream franchise, kill these fucking characters off, man. It is not believable that they're going to keep surviving this shit. So I'm not saying don't kill these characters, but you didn't give us any moments with these characters that made me care about them again. The character I cared about the most about in Halloween Kills was Lonnie. I fucking loved Lonnie in that movie. I thought Robert Longstreet was fantastic. Why couldn't I love Tommy like that? Why is Tommy in the hospital and him and Laurie not having a better moment than they had? Why is Brackett not interacting with Laurie when they're both in the fucking hospital? That's what fans want to see. They don't want to see, it's Halloween, Michael. Everyone's entitled to one good scare. They want to see Brackett and Laurie have a conversation. Michael killed his daughter, Laurie's best friend, probably, right? Even though she treated Laurie kind of shitty. So what? They just had nothing. They knew what they thought the fans wanted, and they were wrong. So yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. Ronnie from the All the Good Names Taken Our podcast says, y'all are sleeping on how great Kills is. Man, I just don't think it's that good. And it's unfortunate because Kills has a lot of good shit. The flashback. I was banging my fucking head on the table when they announced they were going to do a flashback. And then I saw images, and I was banging it harder. And I was wrong. The flashback was awesome. It was awesome. And then a lot of the Myers stuff, with the way the mask looked and, some of the kill scenes, with Phil and Sandra and, Big John, Little John and Cameron and all them, were awesome. just the dialogue and the hospital shit. I can't do it, man. I'm telling you, Kills is the only movie in the franchise that I fast forward through shit, besides Rob Zombies. I fast forward through the hospital shit. I don't care. But it's interesting. I think Kills of the trilogy, I think Kills has the highest highs, but it also has the lowest lows. Just my opinion. Like I said, this trilogy, like any horror movie that comes out nowadays from a beloved franchise, is divisive. That's just the world we live in. It's the nostalgia phase. It's also the everybody has a YouTube channel, everybody has a Twitter or X or whatever, and so everybody feels like they have to shout from the rooftops and argue that their opinion's right. There's no right opinion here, guys. There is zero right opinion. Not to get on a soapbox here, but if you like that fucking movie, whether it's Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills, Barbie, whatever, like that fucking movie. Don't listen to people like me on YouTube telling you Halloween Kills sucks. Don't listen to me. If you like it, you like it. That's awesome. I love having the conversations and debate, but my opinion's not right. It's just my opinion. So you guys know that. Everyone knows that. It's just we all get a little crazy sometimes, but it's all in good fun. These are just fucking movies at the end of the day. All right, off my soapbox. Sorry. I just see so much arguing on YouTube and the internet and shit that it's just like, guys, what are you doing? These are fucking movies. It's just nauseating for me. Crazy. All right. You guys didn't call on here to hear me lecture you about shit you already know. So, all right, let's continue. DMT Infinity. You guys are doing good in the chat. Thank you. Says the first half of Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 was amazing. I just hate the fact that it's supposed to be Michael Myers. Those movies would have been better off as an original movie with an original character. Something like Halloween Night inspired by John Carpenter's Halloween or something. Wasted potential. Yeah, that's a good point. Something, if it was an original movie, and it's clearly a Rob Zombie movie, right? The white trash and, all that shit, is, just bathed in Rob Zombie's themes there. But if it wasn't Michael Myers, it was just some other kid and, he wears some other mask or something, and it's just, something that's similar to Halloween, kind of like there's been other movies, that have been inspired by Halloween. You guys ever seen, is it Hush? With Mike Flanagan's first movie, I believe it's his first. I stand to be corrected on that. But Hush is great. My only issue with Hush is they had the killer take the mask off, and I would have liked if the killer kept the mask on. But Hush, if you haven't seen Hush, go check out Hush. It's a girl being stalked, and the girl's deaf. Is she deaf? Yeah, she's deaf. She's deaf, and she's being stalked by some guy in her house in the backwoods. It's really good, and it's Flanagan. Mike Flanagan hasn't really done anything that hasn't been good. So yeah, I'd encourage you guys to check that out. Let's see here. Ellie agrees. She said she loved Lonnie. Yeah, man, I thought Lonnie was great in that movie. So good. Entertainment Wizard says, I thought Tommy and Lindsay should have been the surgeons operating on Lori. That would have been cool. That would have been really cool. That would have been awesome, actually. At least I would have given him something to do besides walking around with a Huckabee baseball bat or whatever the hell it is. Scott Royston says, I like The Evil Dies Tonight, honestly. Just a bit overdone. Yeah, in practice or in theory or whatever, it's good, But when they started chanting it at the hospital, when Tommy says, Evil dies tonight, and then Brackett says, Evil dies tonight, and then, on and on and on. It's like, is that really how people would react? I mean, I guess these are the same people that thought Michael Myers was Danny DeVito. So you can't really, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but still, yeah, I thought it was definitely overdone. All right, where are we at here? I'm trying to get through as quick as I can on these chats, guys. I'm going to go another 15, 20 minutes. All right, Travis Parsons says, yeah, but 100-year-old Nurse Chambers saying Evil Dies Tonight. She would have been in bed at 4 o'clock, supper at home with her 10 cats. Yeah, no shit. This is for Dr. Loomis. That line was cringe, too. I like what she goes out with. I love that she was out with them though, having beers every Halloween. That's kind of funny. Ellie says, I'm glad we agree, Ronnie, about Kills. Yeah, I know, Ellie, I know you're a big Kills girl. She's probably rolling her eyes at me the whole time I'm ranting about how much Kills sucks. Sorry, Ellie. Like I said, Kills has its fans, and there's so many good things about it that I get why it has its fans. Absolutely. Travis says, Twitter is a cesspool. Yeah, man, I haven't been on Twitter in months, and it's been wonderful. But yeah, it's kind of a joke at this point. Lovey's Fat Life says, I agree. Josh and I disagree a lot. Yeah, disagreeing's fun, man. Especially on movies. It's a lot of fun. As long as, people aren't jackasses about it, and you guys having a YouTube channel, you know how it goes sometimes. You make a video and you get all these haters in your comments, and it's like, Jesus Christ, people, calm down. It's like you're insulting someone's firstborn child or something. Calm down. See, Scott Royston says, Kills are the best out of the trilogy. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. That's why I'd just be very curious, what the average Halloween fan thinks if they had to rank their favorite of the trilogy. I think most would say Kills, but I'm not very confident in that answer. DMT Infinity says, all opinions are wrong besides mine. I knew you were like that, man. It says, if I want a proper sequel bad enough, I'll make myself a homemade movie. See, that's fun too. I remember doing that as a kid. I wish I still had some of that shit. Trust me, actually, I'm kind of glad I don't, because I'd probably be critiquing the hell out of it. Raul Ramirez says, Halloween Ends was very disappointing to me. They should have introduced Corey in the previous 2 films to build up his character. Would have been worth it, in my opinion. Yeah, it would have been nice if he was at least in the first 2 films. And that's the problem with the one. It wasn't really a 180 they pulled, but it was like it was more like a 90-degree turn they pulled, when COVID happened. Corey was never in the plans at all. Until COVID happened and they had some more time to think. And if they claim he was, I'm calling bullshit on that one for sure. Lovies agrees. Hush is great. Love it. Yeah, it's really good. I'm glad I found it. Entertainment Wizard says Hush is great. It's a shame Netflix won't budge on home media release. Oh, really? I didn't realize it wasn't on a home media release. That's right. I think you're right. It was a Netflix movie. But yeah, it was really good. Let's see. Lost my place here. Real Dad says, is Hereditary in your top 10? It's in mine. I am so mixed on Hereditary and so mixed on Ari Aster in general. I appreciate the hell out of Hereditary and Midsommar. I appreciate the hell out of it. Both of those. Anyone that doesn't like those and says they're shit movies that are not well made is full of shit. Like, those are well made, good movies. I just don't know if they're for me all the time. I got to be in the right mood. I think like with Hereditary and Midsommar, I think they're both, they're building on making you uncomfortable the whole time. And, sometimes I'm in the mood for that. Sometimes it's really intriguing. But for me, it depends on the day. It probably won't be in my top 10, but I definitely appreciate Hereditary, and I think it's good. DMT Infinity says, what is the worst Friday the 13th movie? Sorry, my chat's moving too fast. What is the worst Friday the 13th movie and the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movie in your opinion? Nightmare on Elm Street's easy. Freddy's dead. It's a fucking joke. As I'm just telling you guys, it's just a movie, and then I'm like, it's a fucking joke, right? But yeah, Freddy's dead is terrible, in my opinion. And then Friday the 13th, I'm in the process of revisiting these movies. I'm through 4. I'm gonna rewatch 5 again in the next couple days and get my thoughts on that. But gun to head, probably Jason Takes Manhattan is probably the worst in my opinion. But on the other hand, it's late 80s fun. Jason, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have an answer for you in the next 6 weeks or so when I get through the franchise again. But right now, I'd probably say Jason Takes Manhattan. Mikey loves movies. How you doing, Mikey? It says kills is good Myers movie. That's about it. Yep. Entertainment Wizard says Marion deserved better. At least she went out swinging in H2O. Yeah, she did go out swinging in H2O. And I thought her scenes in H2O were awesome at the beginning. Real Dead says Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy 5. Yeah, Freddy 5 is terrible. Jason Goes to Hell, I have a hard time judging because I have a lot of nostalgia with it because I remember we rented it for like I can't remember if it was like my 10th or 11th birthday or something like that. We rented it on VHS, so I got a lot of nostalgia with that. Let's see what else we got here. DMT Infinity says Scream 5 spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Nice job putting the spoiler alerts there. Appreciate that. Says the way they killed Dewey was very respectful. That line was iconic. It was an honor. Oh my OMFG gives me chills. Yeah, I thought they did it well too. What I liked about it is they put no doubt in our mind. You know, Dewey's been killed, you know, in like every Scream movie. You know, the first one, it was okay. All right. Oh, he's alive. Okay. Second one, he comes rolling out. It's like, what? Oh, it hit scar tissue. Give me a break. And it's like, this guy keeps surviving. But yeah, I thought they did it well in Scream 5. And I'm glad they had the balls to actually do it. I wish they would have learned in Scream 6 that we enjoyed that them having the balls to kill off a character. You know, then you got Chad getting stabbed 97 times and, you know, surviving. You got Mindy getting gutted on the subway. And then she comes back and she's jogging. What? Crazy. All right, let's see. Travis Parsons says EW spot on again. Entertainment Wizard he's talking about. Kills did her dirty. H2O felt like it was her. Yeah, H2O did feel like it was her. Mikey likes movies says 18 is the best of the trilogy. I agree with you, Mikey. I agree. I think top to bottom 18 was the best of the trilogy. I get people's arguments why another one might be, but for me, I agree with you. I think 18 was the best of the trilogy. All right. Let's see here. Lost my place. Scott Royston says, what year did Hush come out? Because there is another film by that name with Jessica Lange. I don't know. But it would have been, if it was Flanagan's first film, I'm guessing maybe like around, and I could be way off on this, but my guess would be like around the 2010-ish era. Somewhere around there, because it was Flanagan's first movie, and I believe I'm right on it being Flanagan's first movie. So it had to be somewhere around 2010-ish, maybe a couple years before, maybe a couple years after. Entertainment Wizard. No screaming while the bus is in motion. Oh, talking Freddy's dead. Oh, God, Freddy's just... you know, there's a reason why people have called it Looney Tunes on Elm Street, because it's like the Roadrunner and Coyote. DMT Infinity says, Dem's fighting words. I understand, though. They could have wrote that part better, but still works for me personally. That line hits so cold. Yeah. Yep. Shape of Horror podcast with an interesting take here. It says Scream 6 is the worst Scream. Wow. I don't agree, but I do agree Scream 6 has a lot of problems that make it towards the bottom half for me. For me, 3 is the worst. And for me, that's not even close. For a lot of reasons, but mostly because, and I've said this before, when you're doing a self-aware horror movie, there's a fine line between being meta and clever and crossing into spoofy territory. And I think the first Scream and the second Scream toe that line perfectly. And I think the third Scream just crosses over a little too far for me. It's a little too Scooby-Doo-ish for me. But I know Scream 3 has its fans. Lovey's Fat Life says, hoping to attend Mad Monster Expo in a couple weeks. Kane Hodder is going to be there. Also Doug Bradley. That's cool. I still have not been to a horror convention. I got to change that. I definitely have to change that because I've never met any of these people. I wish I was going to age 45. But sadly, I am not. But yeah, that's cool. Kane Hodder would be cool to meet. And Doug Bradley, he'd be cool to meet too. Travis with hot take says The Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Sorry, not sorry. If I remember correctly, Travis, your issue is with the ending, which I won't argue with. The ending to the original Nightmare on Elm Street is, because it's like two endings, right? You know, it's Bob Shea and Wes Craven arguing. But yeah, I agree with you on the ending being terrible. If memory serves, I think that's what your big issue was. Jay Gregory says, I wish Halloween Ends would have went how I imagined it. How do you imagine it, man? Let me know. Real Dad says, what category do you put Monster Squad in? Is it horror? I don't know. It's a good question. I'd probably say horror. If you put a gun to my head and said you had to categorize it, I'd probably say horror. Scott Royston says Jason Goes to Hell was the worst. Yeah, I think the majority of Friday fans would agree with you on that. Mikey Likes Movies says A Nightmare on Elm Street as a franchise is overrated. Yeah, I said it. That's an interesting topic. It's an interesting thought. Is The Nightmare on Elm Street overrated as a franchise? It's hard to say because Freddy just became so much more than the franchise, right? And that essentially has happened with all popular horror franchises. Halloween, Michael, Friday, obviously Jason, and Scream and Ghostface and so on. But I think Freddy was such a character and such a, icon, especially in those 80s, that, he just became so popular. So, do people love the Nightmare franchise for anything besides Freddy? I don't know. The concept, I guess, but and I know everyone loves Nancy and all that shit. I'm not saying that, but I'm talking about generally speaking. So you might be right there. Maybe it is overrated. You could be onto something there. Scott Royson says Freddy 2 is awful. Too many gay undertones. I actually enjoy the hell out of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. You're right. There's all kinds of different subtext that wasn't even really subtext in that movie, and that's a whole. They made a documentary on it, right? The whole thing. But I like that Freddy's kind of badass, scary in that movie. Now it also doesn't make sense that he's going into the real world, but yeah. But yeah, I know there's not a lot of people that enjoy A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Ooh, I was way off. Shape of Horror Podcast says Hush came out in 2016. Damn, Flanagan's just been churning them out then, huh? Crazy. DMT Infinity says, which Michael Myers mask was your favorite? And do you prefer Hockey Mask Jason or Sackhead Jason? The mask is the original for Myers. Easily the original. Although I do appreciate, 2018 and Kills. I like Kills mask a lot. And even Halloween 2, I know it's the same mask, but it fit the best on Castle. I prefer Hockey Mask Jason, but I do like Sack Jason. I think the Sackhead Jason's awesome. But for me, it's Hockey Mask, and it's specifically from Friday 3 and 4. All right, let's see. Jay Gregory says, I wouldn't say Scream 6 is the worst, but it's frustrating how none of the main characters died. Yeah, and I agree with you there. It is a little frustrating because, Chad, like I said, he gets stabbed all these times, right? And it's a great moment. A great moment where, he's getting stabbed and they have, the music playing as two Ghostface are just fucking wailing on him. And you make us feel this emotion like, oh my God, not Chad. Not Chad. But then they bring him out. So now if they really want to kill him in Scream 7 or Scream 9 or whatever the fuck it's going to be, I'm not going to feel anything. Because I'm just going to be expecting them to wheel him out on a gurney again. So that's my issue. And same thing with Gail. That would have been a perfect opportunity to kill her. Because she went out fighting like a champ. So now, what are you going to do? Are you going to kill her next movie? And probably not in as good of a scene? That's frustrating. Real Dead says Scream 3 is the worst, but 4 is not great in my opinion. I need to rewatch 4 because the last time I watched 4 was a long time ago, and I liked it a lot. But I saw some scenes of it maybe a month and a half ago or something like that, and that it just made me feel like it might not age well for me. So I'm curious what I'm going to think about it again. Entertainment Wizard says, Nick, have to disagree about Dewey. Scream 22 pretty much destroyed Dewey's character by turning him into a drunk, and they had him get distracted by a freaking phone. Garbage send-off. I'll agree about the distracted by a phone. I do agree with you there. I didn't mind him becoming a drunk. Maybe because I like the whole, he's been on a bender look that David Arquette had. But I see your point. That's what she said the killer's identities were too predictable in Scream 6. Yeah, unfortunately for me, I had it spoiled for me. So I wasn't able to really have the same effect that it had, which really pissed me off. It was like a week or 10 days before the movie came out. Some asshole was going on YouTube videos commenting. Luckily, I saw it and was able to delete it for, all my viewers, but it was too late for me. I saw it, so very, very sad. All right, guys, I'm going to go another few minutes here. Real Dead with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Very nice of you. Very kind. Really, thank you. Says, fun live, Nick. Always love talking horror. Yeah, glad to have you here. And guys, go check out their channel, Real Dead. You want to put a link, if you're still here, you would love it. Can you put a link in the chat so people can go check out your channel? Really appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Adam Howard's in the house. Says, doesn't Freddy go into the real world in the first one? He just can't get out of Laurie's house. Yes, you're right. She pulls him out of the dream, right? And she's got the windows barred up and all that. Yeah, it's kind of become a thing with Freddy, where his the way to defeat him, is to pull him into the real world. That happened in the original. It happened in another one too, right? It happened in Freddy's Dead. And they acted like it was some great moment of clarity they had. Let's pull him into the real world. We already fucking saw that. Just so what? You can say Happy Father's Day? Ugh, so cringe. So cringe. Couple more minutes, guys. Gonna go. Lovey's Fat Life says Chad surviving was ridiculous. Yeah, it was. And it wasn't even. It's just. Don't get me started. Yeah, don't get me started. Scott Royston says part 1 and 2 were the best mask. I preferred it on Warlock myself. It showed more emotion in the forehead because it just fit Dick Warlock's head tighter. Yeah, it made it. Warlock has a little bit of a wider face, right? And it fit him so differently. Between that and the fact that Deborah Hill, and this story's been told a million times, right? But Deborah Hill had it tucked in books or magazines under her bed, and she was an avid smoker. It kind of changed the color of it a little bit. And it just, between that and fitting on Warlock differently, it looks like a different mask, but it looks great. And Myers, especially in some of the hospital lighting or non-lighting, so to speak, he looks pissed off, which is kind of cool. Jim Bob's in the house. How you doing? Wayne Turner's in the house. What's up, Wayne? How's Australia, pal? Jim Bob says, the new Nightmare on Elm Street needs to be dark and sinister with no comedy or one-liners. I'd like to see Robert Eggers or someone who does eerie, unsettling well. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Whether they'll go that route and not have one-liners, I'm skeptical. But I agree that it needs to be dark. There is a line. I know people hate the Nightmare reboot, and I don't like it either. But there's a line that Jackie Earle Haley says in that is there's a couple lines in there that are really, really dark, and they're not really one-liners. But he says something like, "What is it? Why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet." Like that's good. That is really good, and I hope they have more lines like that. Let's see. Real Dead says I've been eyeing a Warlock autograph on Michael Myers Funko. That'd be cool. Yeah, I'd say on a lot of these autographs, that you guys want for some of these actors, I'd say get them sooner than later because unfortunately, as we've seen with George Wilbur and someone else just died too recently. But unfortunately, we're getting to that age where these people are going to be dropping like flies. Sadly, it's the way of life, and that's why. People that are going to age 45, this could be your last chance to see a lot of these Halloween alum or horror alum because, they might not be around for H50 in 5 years. So I think that's why, one of the reasons why H45 is getting a lot of people going to it. Raul Ramirez says, "You have a wonderful night. I've got to go." Hey, thank you, Raul. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Let's see here. Just scrolling through the chat for a minute here, see if there's anything. Here's a good one. Lovey's Fat Life says the original Michael Myers and Jason from Friday Part 2 were average size guys. After that, they were all right tackles in the NFL. Yeah, for real. It's funny because you go from Jason in Part 2, like you said, just average size guy, and all of a sudden then you got Richard Brooker, who's a trapeze artist, right? And all of a sudden he's got these traps, and he looks like fucking Goldberg. And then Myers obviously becomes Tyler Mane eventually, who just is a monster. It is absolutely crazy what they turned into, and I think that's just everything. Sequels, bigger, badder, everything. So yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I got an early work meeting tomorrow that I gotta still prepare for. I just wanted to jump on and talk some horror, and I'm glad I did because you guys were awesome in the chat. It was very fun discussing just random topics. Really appreciate everybody stopping by. Really appreciate you guys being so active in the chat. And like I said, let's debate all this shit because it's fun to debate. It's fun to disagree. It's funny. I was watching. I'm rambling, as I said. I'm leaving, right? But I was watching the latest Friday the 13th Part 4 review from Blake and Ronnie on the All the Good Names Are Taken podcast, and the first 3 reviews they did, I agreed with 98% of what they said, and I enjoyed it. Well, Friday 4 comes along, and they are saying things that I blatantly disagree with. Like, I absolutely disagree with a lot of what they said, and I enjoyed that stream more because it's just fun to hear other opinions, and it's fun to debate shit. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun for me to hear other opinions. Like I said, guys, like I said earlier, if you want more info on the Scream 3, I can't remember what it's called, this new Scream 3 cut that's going around the internet, I would encourage you guys to check out the Shape of Horror podcast. You guys have heard me mention him before. He's in the chat right now. His name is Bud. I know he's got a great video coming up, and he's very knowledgeable and all that stuff. So make sure you guys go subscribe to him. And like I said, thanks to everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your Wednesday.